Hello everyone, I'm still alive, and as you can see, I finally moved into my own place. Now, it may not look so different to you, but let me assure you, it's different. Now, since I moved, I had to leave my parents and therefore they have no computer. That is why in today's video, we're gonna build them a computer for mama and papa. One thing to keep in mind is that we're not gonna build a high-end PC. What we're gonna do though, is to build a very good computer with decent components that I have hoarded over the years. These may not be the top of the line products that you may be expecting, but here's the thing, these are good enough for them to have an actually good computer. Also, you'll be surprised by the case I'm gonna be using, so that's gonna be a surprise for you. Anyway, shall we get into it? Let's go! Before we can proceed any further, the first thing that we need to do is to get the essentials, so let's do that. Now, don't be fooled, these are not necessarily the main components. These boxes have the components inside, but as you can see here, for example, this is not really an Aorus SSD. This is another SSD that we got from my brother's laptop and put inside this box. Quick note here, for some reason the footage of me putting the CPU in the motherboard alongside the cooler and the RAM sticks got corrupted. So just pretend that you have seen it already and we'll continue with the SSD part. Talk about a great start, huh?
Disappointed!
The next part is to put the SSD. Now here's the thing, I cannot find the M.2 screw for this motherboard.
Okay.
Don't worry, we're gonna put the SSD and then I'm going to put the M.2 screw later. But now we're just gonna put this one here. So it just goes in here like this, and then it should be placed down to hold it there. I don't have the screw here right now, but this will work for the time being. Hopefully. The next thing that we need is a graphics card because apparently these CPUs don't have integrated graphics, so I'm going to do so. We're gonna put a Radeon RX570 4GB. This is going to be more than enough for my parents. If my father wants to play Formula 1 game, for example, they won't need any more than this. And this is what it looks like. Now, before putting everything together, you might be thinking why I put the graphics card now. Well, that's because I'm going to do a test boot first and make sure that the computer works. Once we do that, then we're gonna put everything in the case. For that, we're gonna be using an EVGA 600 watts bronze certification power supply. This is going to be more than enough to power up the system. Let's see if we get a post. But first, we need to connect everything, so let's do that, shall we? Look at this beautiful rat nest. We need to connect every single thing and then move it close to my computer so I can get an output to ensure that it works. Not only that, then we need to disconnect everything, put everything back inside the computer and then connect everything back in. We also need to order the cable so it looks sort of managed. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but we'll manage. Alright, there you have it. Now let's move to the next part. Jeez, this is gonna be so tedious. Alright, so moment of truth. There is the bloody computer. It has to post. I'm going to shorten 2 of the pins to turn it on. It doesn't have to show everything, it just needs to post. So let's give it a go. Alright, there we go. Please work, please post, come on, come on. Are we posting? I mean, the computer is running, it's rebooting, the CPU fans stopped working, it showed a CPU error. Let's just give it some time since it's an AMD CPU and it posts! Yeah, look at that! Look at that! Alright, so it's posting, but let me see what it says. It says AMD Ryzen 5 6-core processor, DRAM frequency 2133, yeah, we can change that later. DRAM size is 8192, yeah, I get that. So, since the computer is posting, we're not gonna do anything stupid and then continue with the build. So, it's day 2 and it's time to get the PC inside the case. What case am I gonna be using? Well, get ready for the big reveal! It's a generic case. I know, a bit disappointing but funny story. How did I get this case? I stole it from work actually. Just kidding, but I did get it from work. IT was gonna get rid of it for some reason and I was like, can I have it? And they were like, sure, and here it is. A perfectly good case that could fit so much PC in it. A company's trash can be my parents' treasure. First thing we need to do is to install the motherboard in. As you can see, the power supply is installed, but first, Remember the SSD with no screw? Well, I never found a screw for it, but I did find an SSD standoff, which works just fine as well. Even if it's janky, it works, so I don't complain. As you can see, I need to leave the graphics card for last because of the limited space. Now, after aligning, I need to screw the motherboard in place, and once everything is installed, I need to cable manage it. Will I be able to do it? Only time will tell. Stay until the end of the video to find out. Alright, motherboard is in place. As you can see, had I not installed the CPU cooler first, it would have been nearly impossible to do it afterwards. Same goes with the power supply. One thing I could have done better is to install the PSU CPU cable before screwing the motherboard to save me the hassle. Why did I not do that? Well, I'm stupid, that's why. Shut up. Nonetheless, I can work with this, but these cables are what worry me the most. But I'll do that part off camera and then show you what it looks like once it's all connected. Before we do any of that, the next thing we need to do is to install the hard drive. You may be saying, a hard drive? In 2024, bear in mind that this still has an SSD for the operating system, and the hard drive will be for games and files my parents might be needing to store. So I'm going to give them a 2TB Barracuda HDD from Seagate. And let's be honest here, they are not going to feel it anyway. It is secure now from one side, and now we're going to secure it from the other side. Let me tell you, this boy is starting to feel a bit heavy, and the process is starting to become a bit too lengthy.
Performance.
So many cables. So we're going to start plugging all these cables, because then I gotta do the power supply and then the graphics card, and then I gotta test it, and if something isn't working then I gotta fix it and put everything back together, and it's a mess, and you already get the drill. As you can see, I'm doing a decent cable management job. Let's call it that. These bloody connectors, I hate them. I truly do. You know what these are and how horrible it is to connect them, so rather than giving you a close-up of how I connected them, I checked the manual and did them off camera. Trust me, you didn't miss much. Also, why did I add a speaker? I don't know, and I regret that later in the video, so I ended up removing it. Please don't mind it. I did find an interesting issue here, and that is that this motherboard only had one connector for the fans, right? So I thought I was going to run into a big trouble until I found a splitter in my house. I'm going to daisy chain the fans and then connect them to that pin. Hopefully we won't run into any issues. Hopefully. I'm going to connect everything now, since it's already going to be a huge pain to cable manage all this mess. Next is connecting the CPU. Fortunately, it was easier than I expected, and it wasn't so bad. The second cable to connect is the 24-pin connector, which is a bloody nightmare to connect and disconnect. As you can see, I am having a hard time connecting this, but I managed somehow. I also took some time to manage some of the cables except for two cables, a SATA cable and the graphics card cable. But look at what I encountered here. The clearance between the hard drive and the 24-pin connector is non-existent. Oh my lord, who designed this case? But fortunately, despite being a very tight fit, I managed to make it work. How? Don't ask me, not even I know. Next is the power supply, but I also had to make room for the splitter and the fans to work as well. So I proceed to cable manage it a bit to create enough clearance for the Radeon card. Luckily, it turned out better than I expected. Before inserting the graphics card, I proceeded to cable manage a bit more so they are not in the way. Even if I'm not going to see them through the glass panel, I still want everything to be managed and easy to find in case I need to make any future improvements or changes. Hence, I stash all the remaining power supply cables in the drive and proceed to open the slots for the graphics card. The graphics card had a bit of a hard time fitting in at first because I tore the ROM brackets, but it did come with a replacement bracket to block the extra one. I pivoted the card as good as I could, screwed it in place and connected it to the power supply. Time to close it, right? Wrong. I'll test it once again to make sure it turns on, posts, and that I can close it once and for all. Does it turn? Yes, with an annoying beep. Does it reset? It does, with even more annoying beeps. As you can see, I connected these generic deep cool fans to the splitter after mounting them to the case, and I managed the cables to the side so there wouldn't be any rattling noise while they spin. I'm going to close the panel, turn it on, and make sure that the fans are working properly. Time to test the fans. Do they work? Well, they don't. For some reason, they don't work. Not even the one on the back, so I needed to open it again and see what the issue was.
2,000 years.
So I just found out that the very answer is I'm stupid. But you did not need my confirmation for that, you already knew it. The reason why the fans were not working was because I connected the wrong pins. I connected the RGB connectors rather than the fan connectors. Now that everything is correctly connected, let me show you. It works fine. Next step now is to install the operating system to start building their setup.
So, it is day 3. I am still working on the computer and I did a lot of off-camera work here because the computer wouldn't boot. And the reason for that is because I overclocked it even more than it could handle, so it wouldn't boot. And it turns out that in this specific motherboard, the CMOS reset is actually behind the graphics card. So what I ended up doing was simply taking out the RAM and putting it back, and yeah, now it boots. But yeah, that was on me. This is the computer. This is my own personal rig, which I have right here, but I don't have much space, so I actually had to change places. And another thing that I did was to remove this little bastard. I know, I said it was gonna be a janky build, but it was too annoying to have a speaker to annoy my parents, so I decided to remove it because I just couldn't handle it. So what I'm gonna do is simply set up the BIOS now, overclock the memory to a much according speed, and then I'm gonna install the Windows. It's taking its time, but trust me, nothing to worry about. Absolutely nothing to worry about. I know it boots. I know it does. There we go.
So here, I spent some time trying to overclock the memory, but for some reason it wouldn't let me change it to the frequency I needed, so I left it at 2933. But for some reason, the computer now just kept on looping between turning on and off constantly, so it came to my worst nightmare. I had to remove the graphics card to reset the CMOS and...
This seems like a nightmare. Wait. Hello? Okay, hold on a second. This was not happening a second ago. Now it's completely turned on. Wait a second. Okay.
I swear, this was not scripted. The moment I started recording this issue, it solved itself for no reason whatsoever. I had been trying to solve it for an hour and I was just getting footage of me getting genuinely frustrated with the process until it sort of fixed itself. Since it was working now, the system needed to boot from my pen drive for Windows to be installed, and it was instead booting off my brother's old operating system, so I needed to make sure that the BIOS detected my pen drive. I spent some time trying to find the settings on the BIOS, got some really weird visual glitches along the way which tested my insanity.
What the? Alright, this is creepy.
But funnily enough, the installation process actually worked. Creepy moments aside, of course. Or at least, that's what I would love to say, because the same issue happened again and I ended up resetting the CMOS off camera and the installation process started once again with no hiccups. My flippers were very dirty though. Windows is installing accordingly with no issues. I left the panel open. I left the installation process to continue. I updated every single thing that was pending, including graphics drivers, which turned me into a goblin.
That's it, yeah.
Sorry.
I cannot speak properly.
Everything was running smoothly. Nothing bad could happen, except for one thing. The internet port stopped working. Not kidding, for some reason, after updating the internet drivers, the internet port was no longer working. Even when I tried to do a full fresh install of Windows, yes, I installed everything again once more, the port was no longer working. I tried different cables, different ports on my router, but nothing was working. For some reason that I can't understand, this port was not fully updated, it was physically dead. How did that happen? Did I mangle it? Did I kick it or something? No bloody idea. I can't recall being violent or doing anything that would break it, but I can tell you for sure that 1 second it was working, and after checking my footage, it was not working anymore. Because of that, I ended up buying a PCIe internet port, which fixed the issue. On day 5, everything was installed, everything was up to date and ready to put in my parents' house. With all of these issues solved, it was now ready to be transported to my parents' house to assemble the entire setup. Nonetheless, I spent another day setting things up to ensure that they would not run into any issues, and on day 7, everything was ready for a proper installation. I am aware that I could show you the process of how the setup was built, but since I was already too tired and just wanted to be done with it, I simply proceeded to show you the end result. While it not may be the greatest or most powerful PC in the world, the fact that I could give my parents a functional, efficient and trustworthy PC is a blessing. They've done so much for me, and now that the little bird is out of the nest, I just needed to make sure they had everything they needed. If they need to store files, photos, play video games, or just enjoy and relax in their new setup, they could do it with no issue. And that's the greatest joy in the world, to be able to give something back to my parents and that they could enjoy using it as much as I did building it, despite the problems I encountered along the way. This has been Final, and thank you for watching.